all. Amuseum aims to introduce a new age philosophy called Artscience. We have been tend to consider art and science traveling in two different and parallel ways, which never going to meet. This new age philosophy, Artscience, is looking for the merge of these parallels at the level of creativity. Creativity seems to be the core of both art as well as science. Amuseum Artscience is the premier institution in India working on this philosophy and has been organizing programs to promote scientific temper and aesthetic values in the society. Sunday Sharing Thought on Art is a series of talks, discussions, and presentations on art. In its ninth edition, this webinar features contemporary artist Avinash Karn to present his selected works through a slide presentation. This will be followed by a conversation with Sushma Sabnis. At the end of the conversation, audience are allowed to turn their audio and video and participate in the interaction with the artist in the Zoom meeting. Amuseum welcome Avinash Karn, Sushma Sabnis, and the viewers of this event in Zoom and Facebook. We would like to invite Sushma Sabnis to moderate this webinar. Sushma Sabnis is a marine biologist by training and has been pursuing her interest in painting and writing since she left her career as a scientist over a decade ago. With a few solo and group exhibitions to her credit in Mumbai and Delhi, Sushma has been instrumental in bringing a few young contemporaries together for a series of curated exhibitions called the Advaita Platform for Arts created by her. Her essays and features on art have appeared in noted art journals including Art and Beat and Creative Minds, Arts Illustrated, etc. She has been contributing editor to the online magazine Cartoon Art. She also managed the Art Daily and Art Tehelka, two online platforms for art writings, and her reviews, features, and interviews about art shows, art festival have appeared in leading newspapers in India. Sushma has also worked as a curatorial assistant for certain high-profile shows and art projects and biennales, and has curated a few solo and group shows in the recent times of artists from Mumbai and Karnataka. She also works as a communications coordinator and art consultant for various art initiatives. So I would like to welcome Sushma to moderate this session. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. So thank you, Ajit, for introducing me. And I welcome everyone who has joined us today to witness a beautiful session with one of those rare contemporary artists, the young blood of our generations, and we really have really high hopes for him. Let me introduce Avinash Karn to everyone here. Avinash Karn has a BFA degree in sculpture from the Banaras Hindu University, and he comes from the Ranti village in Bihar. In fact, he's joined us today from there. And Avinash has been known for so many years as a Madhubani artist, because that is the language and that is the way he articulates his concerns, his views about everything. To call him a Madhubani artist would be, sort of injustice. I would call him a contemporary artist who uses a Madhubani language. And without further ado, please, Avinash, unmute your mic. I would like to invite you to come and start your slideshow.
Thank you, Sushma ji, and Amuseum Art for giving me a very big platform to speak about my work. First of all, I would say sorry about my lot of circumstances in village. So it's very tough to manage all these things, setups, and particularly to unmute people. So you all have to bear about it, bear these things while we are talking. So now I will tell my small introduction as you have already given, but I will add it to some of my points. Like I have been born and brought up in village, so I have been very much influenced with the village life and all these traditions which I have been part of it. So when I went to uh, BHU for my final course, I studied sculpture there, but uh, I had my own journey before my college life as an Madhubani painter. So I decided to come back to my own tradition and culture, and also have been also already have looked a lot of things like some strange kind of practice happening here with folk on the name of folk and tradition. So I decided to uplift my own culture and my own family work, and especially my own Indian style. I consider it Indian style. I don't see it as folk or traditional. So should I start my work presentation? I would like to start with my cityscapes. Uh, it has been uh, very recent development from my side. It was very recent because after working on a lot of mythological things, I decided to express my socio-political concerns, which I have with cultural subjects. So, as you can see here, I have tried to bring the ironies and harmony among uh, my subject completely based on life in a particular city. I chose city because there are so much thing happening in at the one place at one time at different places, and a lot of different kind of life is connected with each other, and that was very interesting for me to depict all these things. It's not like just a photograph of a space or a life or people or culture, but it is the connection between all these things together. So my first work was Kolkata, uh, City of Joy. I said I have read somewhere that it is called City of Joy, and I also traveled to Kolkata and saw a lot of things happening. So uh, this is my work where you can see the writer's building, and the train is coming, and on the both side of the track there is a lot of thing happening in slum, and also there are fruit vendors, vegetable vendors there. And I depicted two religion, Hinduism and Muslim, Islam, and also connected like how they are connected with ground, the earth. So whether it is different religion, but there are a lot of similarities between religious practices and religious meanings and uh, their tradition. So uh, another thing I was very interested in seeing Durga idols. So I went there and I watched that how Hindu and Muslims are all connected with each other. And then I read a lot of news about Bengal. So one thing that was very interesting was uh, the nano car and the Singur case happened there. So I just decided to attach all these things together and make a narrative of how things are, even they are different, but they are all connected. So next was Kolkata, City of Joy. This work is done in 2019. So in 2019 we have witnessed these days very much political things happening from different political parties, and I connected all of them also. Another was Begum. Begum. She is named as Ruqayya Begum, right? Ruqayya Begum was very much popular in colonial days, She was a feminist, and she has worked with on ground, not just only wrote or speak or talk, but also worked on ground. She brought girls, village girls, Muslim, Hindu, every girls to her school, and she taught them to how to be being self-dependent. Now I can see the brothels and how the life is. I have also watched documentary on it, and it was very dangerous thing. I saw that for addiction is a pill which is very much effective on every part of body, and these girls, women use that drug to be very young, fat, uh, even in their teenage. So I also depicted that, and this way I have done one more city. This is Banaras, and I have been living there since 10 years. Recently, I left the city because of a lot of thing happening these days. So I had to leave the city, but I've been very much connected with the city as I lived there. So Banaras has a lot of things interesting, and you cannot put all the interesting thing in one painting. So I chose something which can connect each other. So you can see the wrestlers. There is a very wonderful tradition, and it is also going vanished because of a lot of new modernity and things has just covered up. Now you can also see man is bathing near the track. It's very common in North India, and I think common in railway around railway tracks or stations. So I just put that in my work. This was very this is very uh, eye-catching moment when I went to Nehru Place in New Delhi. I saw a woman who was very beautiful and selling bracelets and beads. A lot of people were focusing on her because of her beauty, and she had a girl, a boy, a son, and everybody was uh, looking at this family. So I made a lot of heads looking at her in buildings, even in metro. Uh, you can see the eyes coming from out of window, looking at out of window, and the aeroplane. In aeroplane, the window is also having eyes. So I titled this painting "Beauty Lies in the Eye of Beholder." And also I have connected the flight and the flight and a toy flight in girl's hand. So it has and this is very if you connect all of them, you can see the particular thing happening in the city. Now, now I will move to clay on jute work. So this was my experiment with medium, with style, with uh, with my own interpretation. I have done. So this series was done in 2017, and it was basically the tantra topic which we used to incorporate Shiva and Shakti in some kind of iconography. So the medium is clay and jute, and the subject is mythological, Indian mythology. So I consider it purely Indian kind of work. Now I will show you the next work. Yeah, this is Nataraja. Nataraja is has been very important painting in my life. It just become important very much. So uh, you can see the jute and the clay work, and I have done in acrylic, and the balance of the body posture is quite similar to uh, the, the most beautiful Nataraja idol. So it took a lot of time to watch, to work, and to uh, work on it, because it was my first time on this medium and it was very tough. Now this is ink work, and it is basically a drawing. And when I put acrylic pigment with my drawing, it became painting. You can see in next slide. Actually, I have explored the possibilities of Madhubani style. So you can see the modern touch in it, overlapping of lines and using of dots, which Madhubani usually have as an identity, as an identifying element. So uh, I tried it and I enjoyed it a lot because it has very much freedom. I didn't have to worry about my which kind of work it will be turning out. It just I just start and work in a flow, and later it become a work of art. So now in this work I applied red ink also. Basically my each and every work is kind of exploration, it's kind of experiments with some new ideas, new mediums. And this is Joy the Weaver series. Did it in Piramal residency when I was there. So I had a lot of freedom to work and a lot of medium to choose in the residency, because they had no any restrictions about anything. I could do any kind of painting work. So I tried my ink work in colors, and then um, and the modern uh, exploration which I have done in earlier drawings, I did in this also. So you can see 2 3 colors having uh, is overlapping on each other. And and in this work I have put in uh, acrylic paint in the background, so it become like a painting, not only in the background but also in the figures. This is my Ulfa project, which I started in 2016, and it was supported by Artreach India. Basically, it was a workshop kind of project which I wanted to give to my students, villagers students, and I have guided them in painting on paper in first slot, and then came to the wall, and then it was again supported, and they also visited to my studio in Varanasi to travel first time from their house outside their hometown. So it was a very good experience for them also, and they have also experienced the how we work in studio as a professional artist. And still they are working, and they are, but during the COVID time it is now very much problematic for them also. So we have started Artreach India, and we have started together fundraising programs for them. So now they are also seeking for opportunities and wanted to grow more. It was my this is from the village where we have worked on the wall and on the paper. The paper work comes out very differently, not like a usual Madhubani painting which you can see in the craft market. So I didn't want to see them as a craft person copying work again and again. So they just explore their own thought expressions, and they're just put it in their own way. I just helped them to understand how this aesthetics comes out of the line and colors. So this is photo with me, the participants, and again the Discovery Channel has covered this project in 2018 and broadcasted in their uh, mm, India My Way show. The show was called India My Way. So, so with the working, we have been getting some recognition of our work, and after the Discovery Channel broadcasted, we had also uh, uh, organized fair, outreach fair for to sell their work. And in the first day of the exhibition, on the inauguration day, we have sold 5 paintings in one book. So it was very interesting and encouraging for all of us. Now I should move to uh, my concerns about my why I am doing this kind of works, why I'm not only painting, and why I'm doing workshops and writing and talking a lot on my works and Madhubani art and other art. So my concern on for Indian art was how we have been not considering our own work, own art, and just fascinated with uh, the narratives that has been established since long time, since colonial period, and we have been just following that narrative blindly and put it different things on in mainstream art, but not given any consideration to our Indianness, Indian art, and which those art which have been grown in our own country, our own soil. So it was. Uh, Another thing is I find like Indian art and Indian artist is different thing. Like when you Google Indian art, you will find Madhubani, Gound, Warli in the result. But when you Google with the keyword Indian artist, you will find M.F. Hussain, S.S. Raja, Raja Ravi Verma, Subodh Gupta, Atul Doria, Jitish Kalat, etc. as a contemporary artist also. So I had a question that why Indian art is Madhubani, Gound, and Wadley on the Google, and why Indian artists are from modernist and contemporary artists are in the list. So where is Ganga Devi of Madhubani painting, Divya Subhamase from Wadley, Jangar Singh Sam from Gound, and a lot of people artists, great artists from that which is listed in the so-called traditional and folk art. So why they are not appearing in the list, and why Santosh Kumar Das, Bhajju Syam as a contemporary artist, why they are not in the list? So I researched about it, not research. I have been thinking deeply about it. So I found like there are a lot of practice happening in the back door of uh, the corridor, and you can see the Ganga Devi's masterpiece was destroyed in 2018 perhaps, and the petition was closed with only 289 supporters. So I just when I explored these things, I found like a lot of things is happening which is not being considered by us, by people of people from art fraternity and also from government sector. So now one more thing I will tell to compare the artist Santosh Kumar Das, who has born in 1962, who was born in 1962, and uh, is a very wonderful contemporary Madhubani artist. He got first solo show at serious level, at serious platform in 2019 at the age of 57. And when you see the Jivya Sumamasi has received the award, Padma Shri award in the age of 77, whereas Parasmati from contemporary art has been awarded Padma Shri in the age of 49 in 2014. So why this is this double standard thing is happening with our own artist and our own culture? So it was my concern about it. And when you say top Indian artists are M.F. Hussain, S.S. Raja, they all are modernist, and I find like they had mixed style of not only Indian, but they have also embraced global art, like cubism and all and other things. So MF Hussain, SS Raja, they are modernist and they have no much relation with any style art which has been originated in India. So but same is also with the contemporary artist. And you can see when you see like they are born in India and not working in Indian originated style. So is that kind of artist are Indian, or who has embraced Indian style of work, which was originated in India, is not considered as Indian artist. So I had a question like who is Indian artist and what is Indian art. So I found like market has the narrative of dealing with these things, and they are driving our culture identity, because we have been over underrated. We have been ignored. The Indian style of work has been ignored at, since very long time, and we have been part of the some kind of market agenda. So I just urge to a lot of people, like serious people who has been thinking the same way, feeling the same thing, to just help us to not to establish our identity and culture, not let market drive. Thank you.
Thank you for that very informative presentation, Avinash, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for being on time. Actually, there are a few questions that you have raised about the Indianness of Indian art,
Mhm.
about this huge gap between um, the Indian, the so-called Indian art, the traditional folk, and the tribal. That's what it's called by the market. These are names given by the art market. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not necessary that it is given by the artists who make them. So the definitions that have been proposed, that Gond and Madhubani and Varli, all these are tribal or folk arts, and they are more indigenous or more ethnic to
Yeah.
Indian art.
And
So
also vernacular.
yeah, vernacular and that kind of they have been silent. And it's interesting that you said that the art market has been the one which makes the decisions and the demarcations of which art is Indian and which art is more um, feasible. Of course, I suppose you are aware that it is the money which drives the sale, which drives all this. The art market actually runs on that. It's not about just the style. And I I wanted to ask you. What have you found out at the end of it? I mean, I saw your entire presentation. Is there anything apart from just the market that defines it? Have you found any like, not everybody is from Madhubani, or not everybody comes from a place, every artist doesn't come from a place which is indigenous, which has got its own style. You come from a Ranti village which is in Bihar, so you are doing that style. Or what about somebody who doesn't come from that? What kind of art, Indian art, would that person make?
Uh,
Have you ever thought about that?
no, like me, if you see, my work is not very much like stick to a place.
Hmm.
It has a lot of, if no, if one is not coming from a certain culture or a certain
Right.
ritual, they can learn it, they can research it, they can mix a lot of Indian art style together, and it will be a very a good progress in Indian art.
Hmm.
So like me, I have mixed a lot of things together.
Hmm.
So one can mix Warli with Madhubani, or they can work in Gond style, but they will use a lot of elements from Madhubani or nature style of which is originated in Rajasthan. So I think this is the way they can start. They can learn it, but in the college they learn modernism and now they are learning contemporary conceptual arts, which has it's my personal thinking that it's not has been connecting. Like when you say wow to an artwork, you see you have two devices to say, which makes you feel wow. One is mind and one is another is heart. So whenever you say wow to some kind of work, you have to notice that the wow is coming from which device, from your mind or your heart or from your work. So when I say conceptual kind of work, or very minimalistic and talking a lot and working very less, so whenever I see these kind of works, I say wow from my mind, not from my heart, because it has not touched my heart, it has touched my mind. So this is the way you can compare artworks.
Okay. So the other thing is, what I have noticed about your art, the beautiful works that you showed us, you have a very general way of depicting like a cityscape that you showed us. There are so many things happening. Okay. So you go around the entire city, probably in so many days that you spent there, and you captured in your mind the very essence of what makes that city itself, its essence, and then you put it on the one image. Okay. Now this is very similar to how miniature paintings were made. So there is a kind of a documentation of different types of things. There is a distortion of the space, there is a distortion of things that are happening. They seemingly simultaneous, but they are not. At the same time, they're all depicting one day or one place or one space, so to speak. uh, how did this come about in your artwork? Because Madhubani is like a very lateral kind of a thing. So you are depicting one event that is happening. I mean, that's what it started as. So there's a festival, there is a thing that's happening, so the women will paint one particular event. How did this narrative thing come in your work?
Yeah, as you said, like miniature has storytelling of one place and one
Yeah.
time. So when you see the miniature works, like they are depicting hunting, they will not depict what is going around from miles away in fort, and what is queen is doing there. So I think when I worked on my painting, I just wanted to not stick or limit myself with one uh, place and one time. So and it was also very important to connect all these things, to express some kind of feeling. Somebody who is viewing my work can see the meaning of from coming from artists, and also they can make their own meaning at the same time. So I just wanted to not limit with that particular work which has been done earlier. In Madhubani also there has been a lot of storytelling, but they have boundary kind of box. They make borders. So I didn't want to do that because it binds all the subjects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you was, you just said earlier towards the end of your presentation that there is this need for people to find their own, they should learn their own Indian art and try and express through it, or at least incorporate that in their artwork, okay, in their styles or whatever. Now, my question is that um, there are a lot of people all over the world who want to learn a particular artwork, an art style, so to speak. Okay, do you see that as the spreading of the art form, or do you see that as the dilution of it? Because eventually that will get incorporated. Like it will be, there'll be, like you just said, there'll be 2 3 different styles which come together in one visual, and that does that become more diluted, the experience of an authentic, what is the authentic bit in that? That's what I wanted to know.
Traditionally we have been very what kind of what I say, we have working like in Madhubani, we have copying again and again, again and again, and that make us like this is craft thing,
Hmm.
like
Right, right. Okay.
so. Uh, the, what you said that about question is when one person is progressing, means developing a work with mixing a lot of things, it makes the original thing bad. But I think no, it's not like this. Like we are making it progress. Like when we have stuck with copying things, we had no choice to do next what to think what is next. So we have progressed by adding up, by bringing new ideas. So we can do this in we can progress in this way, we, because we have stopped doing same thing again and again. Yeah.
I understand what you're trying to say. So, like, I mean, in earlier Madhubani paintings, which were done by women and the villagers and whatnot, they used to portray the village scenes and the women's work and domestic, things that were happening, the festivals, the jobs that they do, all that. Okay. My question was, when you said earlier that there may be two types of, say, folk art, two different types of folk art, and you said at some point that this could collaborate and come together and work together in one visual, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
suppose, for example, I mean, a bad example, let's say Madhubani and Gond come together, and an artist creates a Gond and Madhubani work together.
Yes.
Don't the both do both of them, both the styles get diluted in the process? I'm not talking about how contemporary visuals is, okay? I'm talking, is the artist creating according
No,
to, is he creating
I think
good work that
I
way?
think once both style is mixed with each other, still that kind of work have Indianness, the feel of India, the feel of their own culture.
Okay.
Still, it will be identified or establish themselves as a different. It will not be limited with a kind of naming that it is Gond or it is Madhuban.
Okay.
It will be Indian,
So it'll create something else, or become a
new kind of
new
work.
kind of uh, folk art or whatever,
It
or
may be
Indian art.
individual style of the artist.
Okay. Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
What else would you tell us about? You just told me that you had come back from the residency, not residency, sorry, a comic
Comic festival.
art festival.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell me something about that. How
I
was the
was.
experience as an Indian artist?
It was very nice. I must say it was life changing thing I learned there. I saw there, and I have kept in my heart there. So it was I was invited there for in 2019 April, and I went
Okay.
there for to show my work and to give workshops and to deliver talk. uh, so I had also the Udbhav artist works there.
Right.
Nine works I took there,
Hmm.
and we talked about everything, the caste, gender, in single platform in different talks. So in my talks, I was focusing on the same topic like we are discussing here, and everybody was they were not thought about it earlier, like how things is happening around the world. Even in the America, you can see outsiders art, and that kind of art is known as folk art also uh,
Hmm.
everywhere. So why they say it outsider? Because they are not in mainstream.
Hmm.
So they are out of mainstream. So they call it outsider art. And it's very I think very clever way of making market for something. Uh,
Hmm.
the categorization is very. So when I went there, I had a lot of I met a lot of people who was working for gender and caste, and we have also discussed a lot of things together. And yeah, so and I was also featured there among 18 international artists. So it was very different thing, a big achievement for my work career also. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to know what would you tell the next generation of artists who are practicing Madhubani as a style? Is there something that you intend to pass
Yeah.
on? Yeah.
I would say that there are a lot of strange practices happening here also locally, and they should not go into that. Like artists are not much aware of ideas or politics or a lot of things, so they should uh, look deeper into it, and they should study like a fine artists. They should not
Okay.
be always crying on their poverty or their struggles. Yeah, you can see a lot of videos running on the YouTube. You can see the artists are crying and people are recording it and publishing it. So I don't like that. So young artists should be taking their career in art differently, not flow in the way it has been practiced.
So, Avinash, this question comes to you from Priyanka Jain. Okay, Avinash, would you be okay if someone not from the Madhubani art community or geographic location wants to take up and practice Madhubani art?
Yes, they can. They should. uh, Art is not limited to any boundaries, geographical boundaries. So you can, if you want to uh, see yourself as an Indian artist. My concern was for India because I have been watching it since long time. That's why I told. But there is no boundaries, and anybody can pursue any kind of art.
Okay.
But for market purpose, you cannot. Nobody can put another thing on the name of Indian art. That's why it was my concern. I had not limited anybody to their geography.
Okay, we have another question from Pragati Dalvi from Bangalore. I appreciate your concern and your questions about the Indian art and what is an Indian art. Is it the artist who is an Indian or may not be making ethnic folk art or its content subject that defines the Indianness? While what it is that as we have gone beyond boundaries through internet, I think we are just left with art probably doesn't emphasize on the style medium subject. We purely seem to connect as human. What is your take?
Art is not. I have not mentioned that we should be limited ourselves to a particular subject. Uh, Indian could be any style originated in India. That was my point. Anybody can do any kind of art. Anybody can do modern art, everything. But to be called Indian artist, we should be. We should not. It is not necessary to live in India. You can You can take your style, Indian style, to another side of another part of world, and you can work there in that kind of style. So subject is not limited. My subject was not only from India, but also a lot of things like gender issues has been there, which is all global issue. This is not only happening in India. So subject is not doesn't matter, but the style to be called Indian artist, style should be originated in India. Either you mix all the style or like uh, what I said earlier.
Are there any more questions anybody would like to ask directly?
So actually, congratulations and thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, Avinash. It was very, very good to see you and also
Thank
your
you.
works. And I was very much impressed by the concerns that you have raised regarding the kind of interventions or the kind of engagement that the contemporary artists have with the Madhubani art, or even the administration, the kind of cultural administration in India has for the Madhubani style or any other regional styles. Now, coming to that, I would always say that modernism has always tried to engage with the regional art practices. I don't call it vernacular because vernacular has a bad connotation. Vernacular is always, uh, suggests that it is the language of the slaves. Okay, so I don't use that. But I would say that modernist and or the modern art has always worked in such a way or made some engagements with the regional art forms in such a way. Either they have behaved as explorers, as in the case of Picasso and other modernists early 20th century, and as foragers, they go around and collect whatever they can have and without acknowledgement, Picasso at least acknowledge the sources. And a sort of missionaries. Perhaps you take that position in this, like you behave like a missionary who would like to have, to behave or function as a bridge between the contemporary and or the modern contemporary and the kind of regional art practices. That is good, actually. But in another context, I would say this experiment or this exploration had been done in 1970s. When India faced this big question regarding the indigenous art. What is indigenous modernism for India? Or what is the original modernism? Was it the kind of Western modernism or the kind of Oriental modernism per se, the way the Bengal school had tried in the early 20th century? Or do we need something called indigenous modernism? A modernism which is originated from the sources, the very sources, which you are trying now, you know. But the problem there, they went again in a way of internal domestic colonizers or like missionaries. They were going in and picking up certain elements and coming back to the modern art practice. Fortunately, you are not doing that. You are trying to create a real engagement. That's wonderful. Then the other question is very pertinent. Very pertinent. You raised this question: who is Indian? Who is Indian, quote unquote, Indian, and who is this global Indian? You know. So I think you have already taken a position that the artists who have been the kind of global Indian, they are more or less against the kind of Indian. It has been happening in Indian literature, in literature anywhere, because the contemporary writers go into the regional forms of dialects within the functioning within the main language. They write from the seashore language, they write from the hill language, they write from the midland language, in a way collapsing the idea of the mainstream language. But only problem with that is in the long run, these expressions would need a translatory bridge in between. Somebody need to function as an intermediary between the dialect and the language. It is very funny that you speak in a language and you need somebody to translate some dialect expressions from the very language. So it creates a kind of tension, and also it is always controversial and debatable. Then coming to the comparison between Santosh Kumar Das and Paresh Maiti or anybody in that case, definitely there is a kind of administrative imbalance there. As we know that in any administration, especially cultural administration, a lot of nepotism and favoritism work. Because of that, mediocrity is always supported and honored. You're remunerated. So in that case, we can't say much, but we can build parallel institutions and the parallel initiatives so that such kind of practices and practitioners could be acknowledged. Coming to Janagat Sham's experience, who went to Japan and faced with a lot of problems because he couldn't manage between these two things. But a person like you, a youngster, a modernist, a contemporary artist like you, and people all those who belong to your generation and the modernist generation, contemporary generation, they all behave as intentional interventionists, which I would like to coin in this context. You are all, or we are all intentional interventionists in the discourse, even within the vernacular, I mean the regional modernist discourse. We make intentional interventions. If you look at the Kanjo Munda, one of your disciples, one of your students there from
Yeah.
Jharkhand, if you see her work, like you can see that that lady is in her kitchen, she is painting. On her shoulder there is a child, but you can see that she is painting. She is making a painting. So that actually the domestic interior is doubled up as a studio for her. So she could imagine there, but it gives that kind of a freedom, or your intention gives that kind of a freedom to imagine that. Because I have seen so many Madhubani and the Gond artists, like they will never deviate from the kind of so-called traditional and craft oriented uh, you know given by the generations, that kind of art lingua. They will not deviate from that. So it is important for making such intentional interventions. And the last point I would like to make is that maybe we cannot insist that all the kind of artists coming from a particular region should follow the kind of traditional or the indigenous language from there. If you are doing, definitely it is fine, and that makes you important. And a Padma Shri is on the way for you. We can wish for that. But anyway, I mean, so we can't insist. We always strive for a kind of global understanding and a global reach. So that is my understanding of the things, and it was wonderful to have you here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to thank you uh, in for also including me in a lot of your projects and supporting my work since very long time. So, what your point was, the modernists are also working with a lot of Indian style, and they are actually they are. I say it in a strong word that they are stealing. They are not giving any push to the art of regional arts or any art originated in India. So I think they are stealing and they are just taking up and using it and just earning from that. So it is not going anywhere in the progress of our own work style of work, which is Indian. Somebody has to come, and a lot of people are feeling that this practice is happening, because I have also heard a lot of people are talking personally but not putting that in public domain because of the market, because of the relation with the contemporary art people fraternity, and that's why there's some kind of fear they have to lose something like their business, like their work, their connections. But I have never felt such kind of fear. I have a lot of connections from other sides also, but I don't fear that because I have completely I have faith on my progress and my work, which has been see when there is nature in your work, nobody can destroy it from anywhere. And another thing is I have working in different kind of things. If my paintings will not be shown, I will do workshop. If I will not get workshop, I will do another kind of work. I can also work on Photoshop, so I can join any graphic studio. So I have no any kind of fear that I will lose my career or something. So
Yeah, yeah. This is exactly where I would like to add that, like, you have this freedom to move between. Like you can start from here, and if you're not happy or you're not supported there, you can go to somewhere else. But for the traditional artists, either Madhubani or Gond or Worli or anybody, they, first of all, they don't need the feel. They don't feel the need to go. The second thing, like, they don't they don't have the ability to explore other areas because they are not exposed to it. That is why if you see these artists, like nowadays they travel a lot, whether it is gone to Worli or anybody, they travel all over. So they have started bringing those elements into the way you have seen how the metro is functioning and the Calcutta series and all. Like you have incorporated images from those places. So the mobile Madhubani artist, or those Madhubani artists or regional artists who have gained mobility in terms of various interventions by cultural organizations and agencies, they also started incorporating the contemporary world into it. But only thing is that you have, I mean, as an artist, as a modern artist, educated in a contemporary institution, you have the willpower and the decision-making power to switch mediums, switch areas, and switch genres, so on. So I think like that is the freedom that you could use, and that is the freedom that they are not given. But nobody can do anything. Like that's how the world works.
There are a lot of possibilities in so-called folk and traditional art of India. A lot of possibilities. So when I see if I experiment with my medium or something, people will say you are just making something worst because the traditional art are already beautiful in its original form. So I think like this is limiting the possibilities. We have limited it on the name of folk and traditional art. Somebody has explored in 90s, like Ganga Devi has done very contemporary work in her own time. So if she would have limited her to only mythology, how could she would paint roller coaster? So we should not limit ourselves, and we should be exploring the possibilities it has. The nature has a lot of possibilities. You cannot because it is very natural thing. It has emerged naturally. It was not taught in any college or any. It was just emerged from out of the soul and heart. So nature has a lot of possibilities, and it cannot be limited with anything. Yeah. So I think on the name of folk and tradition, we should stop this kind of uh, narratives that has made very limited our market also. The mindset of people has see the folk artists are not feeling good while painting because they think we have no work, that's why I am painting. And so how we can generate dignity out of it, how we can move from one level to another level. So there is only the option to put new things, explore the possibilities it has hidden inside it. So I just did the same thing. I realized and I did.
I think the limitation of the artists who are not educated, academically educated like you, and remain in the regional areas is this, that like they are actually suppressed by the kind of patronage that they get, or they are limited, or they are controlled by the patronage they get. Because my studies have proved that I have traveled extensively in these areas, and what the traditional and the craft oriented regional artists do, they actually not work for the patron directly, but the patron's idea is brought into their villages through an agency, an agent. An agent represents the kind of the patronage and the patron's ideology, so that if a person is painting a flower, or if a person is actually painting the Sri Rama Pattabhisheka, the marriage scene of, or the final coronation scene of Sri Rama, that person, that artist is again and again asked to do this, do the same issue. Suppose if an artist does, if by his quirky nature or her quirky nature, if he or she adds a mobile phone into the hands of Lakshmana or Hanuman, or Hanuman is shown as sitting on a motorbike, Hero Honda bike, maybe this will be rejected by the patron. Whereas if people like us are the patrons, what we will do, we will reject the rest of it and we will buy that particular bike wala, you know. So if I'm sure that like galleries like Ojas Art Gallery and Devi Art Foundation in Delhi, even now KNMA, they are all involving now into collecting the kind of regional art. But there is a problem. The problem is that they insist on the purity, as you mentioned earlier. Where there is too much of an modern intervention, they say that like it is a watered down Madhuban. It's a watered down Worli. You know, we don't want it down.
1 second, Avinash and Sushma. I think we have to join with questions from other participants also.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Can I answer in a small? This. Actually, it is very interesting question, and I have been experiencing since my very young age. There are a lot of things together comes to make such kind of uh, thing about folk art. Like they are, you said they are not educated. That's why they have. But you can see the Ganga Devi had no any education, but she painted a roller coaster as she traveled there. So once the uneducated artists get chance to travel, they can do a lot of new things. As you have also wrote in the studio about the studio of artists very in a very long ago. So one more thing is the encouragement they get from which sides. Like one foreigner come and capture their poverty, their struggles, and they become very kind for these things. The artists identify these things that my poverty is interesting for them. So they will feel kindness and they will buy my work, and they start crying dramatically. So this is the process, like who came to the place, to the artist, and who did what with them. And such kind of the way they encouraged was not a good way. Like they should not show kindness to their poverty, but they should pay the real amount of their artwork. Their poverty will go on in this way, not by showing or on documentaries. So a lot of thing is, yeah.
Okay, there's a question by Pragati Dalvi. Are we limiting our definition of Indian art by keeping it to traditional style? How, according to you, it can be evolved from there? When can there be an Indian style, and what? I think the question got cut off.
Yeah, I can sense.
Your mic is off. Avinash mic
Avinash,
maybe she can ask directly if you wish.
is there?
No, actually noise was there, so I had to. I have not told that only traditional things. Whatever originated in India, not only uh, like mm, we have categorized that to tradition. Uh, like it is not a. What would you say to say as an what would you do to as an Indian artist to be called as an Indian artist? I think we cannot bring things outside India. If I want to say myself as an Indian artist, that was my point. And there are a lot of things in our country which can be explored. So
You know, sorry for this again, coming back with my observation. Like there is actually, as you insist that this Indian, the word Indian, art historically speaking, there is another Indian style. That Indian style was actually developed from Shantiniketan or Bengal school, not really Shantiniketan, Bengal school. and that style traveled across India, like through Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, then Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and places, and they evolved a kind of salad kind of style, which became what you call, which became the language of illustrations in the North Indian publications, and that actually seeped into all the small town art colleges, and which doesn't have anything to do with the miniature, which doesn't have anything to do with the Worli or Gond or Madhubani. It is purely modern, but in the fluid lines. And I mean, the best example I could give you is the kind of Rajasthani women carrying mudkas and water with all drenched wet bodies exposing themselves. That is the best example. And it's more tender styles that you could see across. In Madhya Pradesh and all, it's rampant, which is called Indian style of painting.
See, like a traditional style, Pragati has told, like it was. Uh, I don't see like if you want to explore a lot of things, you can. It's not nobody can limit you, but my point was only to be identified as Indian artist. You should be engaged in Indian art style. It's not limiting anyone to not do contemporary conceptual work. I am just focusing on market. Market has established the narrative of Indian art and Indianness uh, in different way. So it is the time to break it. I
Hello. Hi. Nice presentation, and your travel to Madhubani, to your modern conceptual and all that. It's very nice, but you're questioning the Indian artist to do and Indian indigenous and all that. In my case, these and all came in the years, not that much of years, and these people are doing their own language and their own the style. There is, we decided, or somebody in market decided that that's Indian style and modern style, and Picasso also he did, and he did modern style, but somebody saying that it is modern, or somebody saying that it is cubism, but whoever you are doing that in your own style, and you saying that is Indian. And Indian, there is, I don't think so that the Indian and or somebody, whoever that other countries or other place, but the individual, whatever you making and whatever in your own things, there is no boundary. That's boundary are other people are making. And I don't think so you want to worry about that boundary and in your personal or your the indigenous is going or somewhere. But I don't think so. It's my way of thinking.
See, Shinod, thank you for asking very nice question. It is like we have a lot of artists who has been studied in art colleges, and they have been developing their work since they were studying there, and the interest became same as it was taught, like, right? So we have never looked at our own things, whatever we were taught or we learned there in colleges or in books, we raised our own thought in the similar way. But you said that I am working is in different style, which is not Indian. It is not like that. It is the progress of the next step of Madhubani. What would be the next Madhubani art? Then, and I'm not alone in doing this. A lot of artists are doing. Santosh Madas is doing. Shantanu Mahalakshmi, my sister Shalini is also doing. Pratik Prabhakar is also doing. There are a lot of people. Not only in Madhubani, every folk, so-called folk art styles has their contemporary voices in Gond. In you can see Bhaju Syam. You can see the Wadley, the Veda brothers are there, Mayur Veda and his brother Tushar. So a lot of people are doing in the same way, but we are not recognizing that kind of work. We are not saying that, oh yeah, this is Indian, this is pure, this is the developed in India. This is not contemporary. We say always this is not contemporary. This is not for our shows. Like a lot of exhibitions, Johnny sir had a very renowned artist who has been working in modern style, who has been working in contemporary style. But I think, sir, you have first time you have put folk and traditional artists in your exhibitions when you including, but he must be having doing including folk and traditional artists in their show in his shows, but this is not a regular practice. This is not he's like him person is the number of person are very low. Not a lot of people are doing this thing, and market has still not recognized these things. That's why my concern was like this. And um, a lot of I don't say that whatever you are doing is, I'm not undermining anyone work. I'm just I have concern on Indianness and Indian art. The categorization and renaming and naming of these things.
Yeah, whatever that Dhoni sir said in Madhubani is in old age and all that. Why it is not in front? At what you use you raising the question? Why it is people are not in famous that much of in modern art and modern artists? The modern the systems and all that it came. So that's why the people are understand the other works and all that, and the internet and other things it came. So that's why otherwise in Madhubanis and all that in old age, people know that. I think the people understand that the things. But in Google and all Google search, then Indian artist, then it will come a lot of other things. But I don't think so. That's a good. It is bad or good or nothing like that.
Why don't you see bad it is that when you Google Indian art, there is Madhubani art and there is Gond Worli, and when it comes to artist, it goes to another side. So it
So
is
that is a
problematic.
technical. See, that is a
No,
technical.
no, no. What Google show you is the basic thing which is circulating on internet, and more or less it is also associated with the practice. So whatever you can see on Google is you said technical. It is right. Technically, it has also encouraged some other artists and left Ganga Devi and left other Jivya Suma Mase. So why this is double standard thing happening? That was my concern.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this wonderful session today. And Avinash brought up some very, very important and significant, relevant issues, which the so-called traditional artists are facing. And he also, through his presentation, presented something that we have been seeing, but we have been sort of silent about it for a long time. There are a lot of ways to get over all these things, and I'm sure the future sessions will come up with answers, proper answers for these. With that, thank you so much, Avinash, for joining us. Thank you, everybody who has asked questions and who has spent time with us.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
It was a brilliant session. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Ajit.
So we are winding up this session, today's session now. Thank you everybody for participating, especially Avinash Karn joining the presentation here, and Sushma Sabnis, and other participants who participated in the interactive session as well. and also all the viewers in the webinar, Zoom webinar, as well as in the Facebook.
Facebook.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you and good night.